Hello and greetings from Industrial Safety Solutions. Today's video is going to be about portrait labels and landscape labels on your SafetyPro printer. It's going to be about what those are real quickly and what you can do with that knowledge. So let's take a quick look. I think most people understand the difference between these two labels. On the right you have a landscape label on 4-inch red vinyl. So that roll of 4-inch red vinyl is 150 feet long and you can cut it to any size. So this is approximately, we'll say, a 4x6. On the left you have the portrait label, again on 4-inch red vinyl and approximately 4 inches by 6 inches long. So when it comes out of the SafetyPro printer, this is kind of what it looks like. So this gray thing here is supposed to represent the SafetyPro printer. At the top, the landscape label will come out with the printer on the left. Okay, now that can be rotated depending on your settings, but that's essentially how it comes out of the printer. Now at the bottom here you see the portrait label comes out with the text rotated. And that's how you get a portrait label. That's the very definition of it. So let's look a little bit at how that works in the software and what you can do with that knowledge. Okay, now let's take a quick look at Facilityware here. Facilityware starts out by loading up the Select a Template dialog, and you can see in gray here it starts out with landscape labels selected as the default. That's because landscape labels are the most common type of labels that people produce with this printer, and so let's start with that. Material type is always representative of what you have loaded in the machine. So let's just say we have 4-inch vinyl loaded in the machine. Label size, we're going to go ahead and set that to 4x6 and hit create. Then you get exactly what you probably expected, just a 4x6 label sitting on your screen in landscape orientation. Let's go ahead and put some text on there just so we don't lose track of what we've got. And we'll say this is landscape 4x6. Okay, we're not going to make a fancy label because we're just focusing on one thing here. All right, that's pretty straightforward. Let's go up to the File menu and look at label setup real quick. So for a landscape, page orientation will be set to landscape. Label width says 4-inch, label height says 6-inch. Now this width and height wording will always remain the same. It's a little confusing because in my mind this 4x6 is 4 inches tall and 6 inches wide. But as far as the printer is concerned, it views label width as your loaded material size. Okay, so in a landscape label, you're going to have your 4 here and a 6 here. All right, let's look at a portrait label real quick and you can see the difference. So I did File New, or bring up Select a Template, and I selected Portrait on the left-hand side. I'm still going to say 4-inch material because that's what I have loaded, and I'm going to still say I want a 4x6. Now you can see here it's going to be in portrait, so let's hit create, and there you have exactly what you would expect to see for a portrait label. Okay, and now let's just add that text to it real quick. Okay, portrait 4x6. Now let's go up to File and Label Setup and look at the settings for this one. Page orientation, portrait. Label width, which again is your loaded material width, is 4 inches wide. So we have 4-inch vinyl in the printer. Label height, 6 inches. This actually matches more of what I would think height and width should mean. But those, again, width always means the width of the vinyl that you have in the printer. Okay? So you have a 4x6 in portrait. It still says 4 here and 6 here. Just the orientation has changed. All right, that's all pretty straightforward. Let's take a look at a few other things. For example, we have a lot of customers that ask, well, I've purchased a roll of 4-inch white vinyl and I want to make 4x6 labels, but I also want to make 2x4s. Do I need to purchase a roll of 2-inch vinyl? If you're just making 2x4s, no you don't. If you want to make a 2x6, well yes, you need to do a 2-inch roll of vinyl. But with a 4-inch roll of vinyl, you have some flexibility for those smaller labels. So let me show you how that's done. If you want to make a 2x4 in, well, we'll just start here with, we're going to start with portrait. We have 4-inch vinyl, and we're going to say a 4x2 in portrait. Now, a 4x2 in portrait is the same as a 2x4 in landscape. So let me just hit create. That looks like a landscape label, but in reality, it's a 4-inch by 2-inch portrait label. So let's go to File, Label Setup. You can see portrait, 4-inch material loaded, 2-inch height. but your end product is going to look like a 2x4 in landscape. So this is actually a portrait label. Looks like a landscape label. That can come in handy if you have 4-inch material and you want to make a 2x4. You don't want to have to reload a roll of 2-inch or buy another roll just for that, a few labels. Okay, so that a lot of people ask how they do that. That's exactly how you do it. You say, well, I want something that looks like a landscape, but in reality you're setting it to portrait so that you can use the full width of that 4-inch vinyl. By contrast, if I had 2-inch material loaded, I would say I have 2-inch material loaded, and I would make a 2x4, but I would actually make it in landscape. Sorry, let's start over here. Okay, that looks the same. I'll hit create on it. Looks exactly the same, but when you go to label setup, this is in landscape. So keep in mind, where is the printer? Where is this going to come out? In this landscape version, the printer's here on the left. Okay, and if you printed this on 4-inch vinyl, what you'd have is extra vinyl on the top and bottom. Versus our other portrait label, remember the printer would be on top here in this layout. Or if the printer was on the left, this label would be rotated. Hopefully that makes a little bit of sense. But that gives you some flexibility with using 4-inch vinyl or really any size vinyl to create labels that aren't maybe what you thought you could make with that. Again, it could be a 2x4, but it could also be something like a 1x4. So you could create that label right there using 4-inch vinyl without having to reload, without having to buy another roll of vinyl. It can be a good way to make labels. And hopefully that all makes sense. If you have other questions about portrait and landscape labels, always feel free to contact Industrial Safety Solutions. Our number's on our website. Go to industrialsafetysolutions.com. Click on support at the top right. You'll find our phone number, toll free, as well as a way to contact us via email. Hope you enjoyed this short video. Take care.